Good evening and welcome to Estuary TV News with me, Erica Barker. On tonight's show, I'm joined by Stephen Ryder, Managing Director of CPO Media for this week's paper review. But first, here's James Dunn with the news headlines.
Hello, in the headlines today, Humberside Police confirm major cuts over the next 5 years and a tribute to the Barton men who fought in the Great War. Humberside Police have confirmed plans to lose around 200 officers and up to 600 civilian staff in a bid to save £30 million by 2019. The force also plans to merge its 4 divisions covering North East Lincolnshire, North Lincolnshire, Hull and East Riding. Officers will be recognised by their functions instead of their locations. Chief Constable Justine Curran says the force will need to become leaner while still remaining effective, as well as changing the working practices force-wide.
We, like lots of public services, have had our funding reduced, and we're having sure that we do as much as we can with less. So we've done a lot of work planning for that, working on that, at the same time as meeting our operational challenges. So it's been very busy from that point of view. There's what you would consider our normal day job, but also we've got to be planning for the future to make ourselves match fit. We're moving into the next phase. We're doing lots of detail work, and that's going to really help us be ready, hopefully, from the end of this year and into 2015, to really put a new service forward that will make a difference across the whole of this area. And yes, you know, we will have challenges with that. We will be a smaller organisation, but hopefully we'll be a lot leaner and a lot more effective as well.
The council's announced it will decrease the minimum grant from the Regional Growth Fund from £20,000 to £5,000 in order to help small and medium-sized companies. This week, Links Recycling in Grimsby was awarded £74,000 towards a £274,000 project, which will more than double the number of staff from 3 to 8 within a year. Another recycling company, Hodgson and Cowse in Stallingborough, has also been awarded £22,000 towards a £75,000 project. The money comes from a government pot intended to stimulate growth in the region and is administered by the council and the local enterprise partnership. And it's now been announced that the minimum grant available has been decreased so it can help smaller businesses, which council leader Chris Shaw said are crucial to the local economy.
Well, there's plenty of companies applying for the big ones. I mean, we're doing one next week for £1.3 million. But it's only fair that every business can apply, no matter whether you're a small one-man business or whether you're a larger business employing 20, 30, 40, 50 people. The idea is that this money is available. We want to make sure that money goes into the local economy, goes into local companies to employ local people who will then spend their money in the local area.
The fact that we have received the RGF, we have been able to employ, take people on that have been unemployed. Because part of the Change Works programs that I mentioned is that's done through the Job Centre. So if we weren't given that support in the first place, then we wouldn't have been able to take those people on.
West Lindsey District Council plans to make a bid for an NHS dental facility in Caister. There are currently no NHS dentists in the town, so people will have to travel miles to surrounding towns. The council's now carrying out a survey to ask residents if they think there's a need for one. They plan to use the results to present to NHS England in the hope that they'll get funding for a dental surgery. Humberside Engineering and Training Association has won a 3-year contract to hold annual conferences to inspire local children to invest a future in local industry. Nearly 2,000 children in Yorkshire and the Humber have already signed up to Hetter's Big Bang to be held at Doncaster Racecourse in June, and there's 500 spaces left. They've organised more than 40 activities, including an F1 car simulator. Education Links Administrator Nikki Bardsley said it will promote STEM subjects like science and maths and help keep talent in the area. The men of Barton who went to fight for king and country is the focus of a new exhibition at Baysgarth House Museum. Organised by the town's Living Memorial Trust, it's a series of photographs of those who returned and those who went away to fight, never to come back. It was set up after years of research and covered the names of the men missing from the town's cenotaph.
Initially there was 29 names missing off the Barton cenotaph, and through 25 years of research it was all put together by the Trust, Chris Bailey and Sean Schofield, and along with photographs loaned by Brian Pepys and other people and families was able to put it all together to obtain grant aid from the Memorials Trust in London and North Lincolnshire Council's Arts and Media to be able to put the 2 new plaques and put the missing names on the cenotaph.
Well, that's all from me for now, and I'll see you for the next bulletin. Goodbye.
Stephen Ryder has a background in both education and journalism and is the Managing Director of CPO Media based in Grimsby, a social enterprise providing design, print, media and PR services. Stephen joins me this evening to discuss the big stories affecting our region. Hello Stephen, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you, Erica?
I'm not bad, thank
Good.
you. What do we have today?
Okay, well I've got a selection of stories from local papers. The first one's a very local story to us here in Grimsby. And it's an all's well that ends well story, I suppose. It's the story from the Grimsby Telegraph on Thursday, and it's the return, I guess, or the final return, we hope, of the high wire equipment that was originally placed at Trin Youth Centre in 2008. I remember at the time thinking what a great idea having such a facility, especially as local residents had complained about antisocial behaviour, and it was felt that this kind of equipment was just what was needed. Unfortunately, the height of the equipment caused such concern amongst residents that they opposed it. It was taken down a year later despite £92,000 having been spent on the equipment. Closed in 2009, taken away and stored in 2012, but finally installed at Oasis Academy, Wintringham, and now open for use as was originally intended. I think it's a good news story on 2 fronts. Firstly, it's a story that some good funding has been put to its proper use in the end. But I think more importantly, as we see in North East Lincolnshire, now that all schools are academies, there's always been this worry that the link between educational establishments and the community would break. And that just isn't the case here. This is a school and the community coming together to put something to proper use. And I was delighted to see that Jane Bowman, who was the former principal of the academy, was there to open it. So that was a nice story, really.
No, it's nice, isn't it? And I understand that they're putting on kind of fitness classes with a difference, aren't they, for adults? So it's a great way to get fit as well for everyone in the community, I suppose.
And I think that's right. It's a community facility. It's not just for young people. It is for the community as a whole. And I hope that the residents around Trin Youth Centre are happy too.
Yeah, definitely. And it's better to have it there than in storage,
Absolutely.
isn't it? What else do we have?
Okay, the second one, I suppose, is something that's quite close to my heart. As you said, I do have a background in education, and a lot of that was spent coaching sport. Some of it at quite a serious level, but it doesn't really matter, it would seem, how serious the sport is or the age of the participants. People who observe, spectators if you like, the fans at a professional level tend to be both vociferous and often offensive in their behaviour. But quite remarkably, from the whole Daily Mail yesterday, on Thursday, young footballers at the age of 8 are giving parents the red card for misbehaving at football matches. This is an indoor league, and there's an amazing story here of a youngster who was an East Hull Saints player being put off behind the goal by one parent so that the other team couldn't score. And I think it is a problem. I think parents tend to overstep the mark, I think at 8, 9, 10 and 11, when really we're talking about formative years, people are starting to develop their skills of a player, but really they should just be going out and enjoying themselves. Parents, perhaps in some sort of reflective glory of their own, as it says in the paper, see their children as the next Steven Gerrard. I have to say, my daughter's a very good hockey player, and I've been to county matches where...
Did you ever behave like that?
I can say I haven't. Having seen it firsthand as a coach, what I do now when I go away and watch my daughter and my son play sport is I stand as far away from the other parents as possible.
The thing is, the only people who are affecting are the children, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's those who are going to be affected by it.
As I say, having been involved in sport at a reasonable level, there are stories of young people who have been driven out of the sport by their own parents because their expectations are too high, that they're embarrassed by the comments that their fathers or mothers might shout from the touchline. And I think it's a great story and a great initiative being taken by the young people of Hull. So
Yeah,
great news all
definitely.
round.
Yeah, fantastic.
Sorry, I was moving that one. I think the next story is a salient lesson for all of us, really. There's no winners here. You know, obviously we're filming this just before the weekend in Cleethorpes and Grimsby. Lots of people will be out enjoying themselves tonight and tomorrow night, and that's quite right. But I think all of us who go out in this region know that too often Friday and Saturday night can lead to violence. Usually it's totally unnecessary, fueled by people having too much to drink. And there's a very sad story here from the Grimsby Telegraph on Monday, 31st of March, about a professional boxer who works as a doorman in a local club in the Cleethorpes Resort, whose career's in tatters now because, having been headbutted by somebody who was coming into the facility, saw red, which I guess at the time you could probably say was understandable. It led to a pretty nasty street brawl which left people unconscious on the pavement. And unfortunately there are just losers in this story. We've talked in other stories about how things have ended up quite happily. This is just a very sad story indeed, and I think the lesson is that, you know, if perhaps we just put a little bit more thought in, we weren't in a hurry, we didn't try to be smart Alex when we're going into places, we respect the fact that doormen are there for a purpose, and it usually is to keep people safe, then we could keep this kind of incident out of the clubs and pubs and definitely off the front page of the newspaper.
Yeah, no, it's a sad story, isn't it?
Should we talk about wind turbines?
Let's go on to winter.
Okay. So it would seem that wherever you are in the sort of the Estuary region at the moment, you can't escape from wind turbines one way or the other.
Definitely.
So on one hand, Siemens coming to our region and our area seems to be a fantastic story, and it gets on the front page of the paper for a reason. And then we'll get other people objecting to wind turbines being put in their neck of the woods, and so it is with the...
well, it's the thing that nobody wants them in their own backyard.
Absolutely, and people in the Market Raise and Mail area clearly don't want them in their backyard. So the plans for wind turbines near Helmswell Cliff have taken a new turn. I'm sure the pun was intended. And it is going right to the very top. So Sir Edward Lee, the local MP, has stepped in to oppose the turbines going there. We've got Eric Pickles involved. And it always comes down to two things. One is, do people believe in green energy? More often than not, people do, to some extent. The second thing is, if they do believe in green energy, do they believe in green energy being in their back garden? And most people, it would seem, don't. It's a very difficult one to look at. There clearly are benefits for the economy, for having wind turbines in a particular area, and there are actually benefits to local communities. What many people probably don't realise is that if there are planning permission granted for turbines in a local area, then often the people putting the turbines in place, the company who are going to install them, are asked to make community contributions. I do a lot of work with Lincolnshire Community Foundation, who manage a lot of that funding, and a lot of it does, you know, a power of good in the communities which, you know, have the turbines installed in them.
And this, I think, is going to be an issue that will roll on, won't it? Because with wind turbines, I understand, you know, across the region there are several, you know, applications, maybe monthly. So it's something that, you know, will have to be discussed.
I mean, we're going to be looking at it up the road from here. Tetney's a proposed site for wind turbines. My friends who work in community foundation and look at how the funding would be used said that possibly a very simple solution would be to plug directly into the wind turbine and get free electricity, and then perhaps people wouldn't object so much, but maybe I'm being flippant, I don't know.
Right, Steve, I'll have to stop it there, but thank you for joining me. I do really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. Don't forget, if you have any stories that you would like to share with us, you can get in touch on phone Grimsby 315561 or email us news@estuary.tv. Until next time, goodbye.